country is a revival of our constitutional commitment to establish justice, provide for the general welfare, and decades of austerity, and recognize that policies that center the 140 million poor people in this country are also good economic policies that can heal and transform the nation. Also, the third Reconstruction that we're launching is about confronting policies and practices that produce this death dealing society, right? Whether from police killings, poverty, lack of health care, ecological devastation, and the social and economic cost of endless wars.
This is the People's Water Board Coalition Water Wednesday webcast for July 20th, 2022.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back again, beloved community, with yet another installment of the People's Water Boards Coalition Water Wednesdays webcast. I'll be hosting by myself today, so my co-host is not feeling well. I want everybody to uplift her in prayer, as we always do. Can't forget our behind-the-scenes tech guy, Lou Novak, our commenter, Rosalind Walker, and today, people, I am enthralled. I don't even know what words to use. This woman is a spectacular, dynamic powerhouse in the movement, in the fight against poverty, the fight against racism. She is a member of the National Welfare Rights Union and just an awesome, awesome queen. Miss Savina Martin, I am so pleased to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole. You are definitely my inspiration. I've known you for quite some years now, and you are a powerhouse woman of the hour in its day for this time. Thank you all so much for welcoming in today to this platform. Again, my name is Savina Martin. There's noise in the background. And I am a member of the Welfare Rights Union and have been for quite some time. I hail from Roxbury, Massachusetts, and I serve currently on as a tri-chair with the Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign, National Welfare Rights, and the Massachusetts National Union of the Homeless. I'm on their clergy board. And more than that,
I can imagine the list would go for an hour and quote everything that you're involved in. You are such a powerhouse and such a gem to the community and to the nation, honestly, because the movement has to start somewhere and spread outward. And I believe that you, the National Welfare Rights Union, the Poor People's Campaign are doing that. So we're just gonna jump right in because it's a short show. And we just wanna know what are some of the issues that are facing people in Massachusetts?
Thank you for that question. It's a great question. We are in a crisis of epic proportion. We cannot take care of one issue without the other. In the state of Massachusetts, we have a little over 7 million residents, which 2.4 million of those residents are poor, low-waged, or among the ranks of the homeless. We have about 10 to 15 counties in both urban Massachusetts, central Massachusetts, and of course, western rural Massachusetts that comprise of the poor and dispossessed of Massachusetts. And of course, the land that we are on indigenous land. And this state has prides itself on indigenous organizing and mobilizing. However, as I said, we cannot take care of one of these interlocking injustices without taking care of all of the rest. And yes, we do have a crisis with water contamination that's been ongoing in the prison system here in central western Massachusetts, west of Boston. And it's been ongoing. I think the latest research, the earliest research I found was 1996. And of course, Massachusetts likes to pride itself on some of the highest quality drinking water in the country with some of the most strictest standards, right? And the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protections requires our local water supplier to perform ongoing tests for bacteria, lead, and other heavy metals. But of course, the water system in Norfolk Prison has been highly contaminated, as written by the Boston Globe and noted by epidemiologists.
And of course, I would imagine, as we see in other cities, people forget that people that are incarcerated are still human beings as well. They don't feel that they're due certain liberties that should be basic human rights. And that's unconscionable. Whether you made a mistake or not, you still deserve basic human rights.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so, what are some issues outside of water? I know you mentioned that there's a homeless population, so I'm assuming housing insecurity. What other issues do you see in your community?
Oh my goodness, where do we start? So as I stated at the top, that I can go into poverty, systemic racism, militarism, and ecology and health. But there's about 36% of people in Massachusetts that are poor, low income. Yes, and most of our poorer communities, Black and Latinx communities, face, just like across the US, with mass evictions and, of course, gentrification issues. And of course, the cause and effect of that contributes to the influx and heightened increase of family homelessness that impacts children and family and communities' education. So yeah, currently there are about 20,000, according to the Center for Policy Studies, over 20,000 homeless people on any given night in Massachusetts that are working a state minimum wage. And in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Massachusetts, it takes about 113 hours of work per week just to afford a 2-bedroom apartment.
Wow. It's not even unbelievable. It's just to think that someone will have to work that many hours per week. And as it is, we hear people having severe health issues just from the stress of working 60 or 50 hours a week. You're talking about roughly double that. Exactly. So that's pretty much like working almost like 24 hours a day.
It definitely is. And our, what they want to call essential workers, our exploited workers, are working 2 and 3 jobs or more just to be able to afford, and really not afford. They're just barely making it here because of the hours of our labor being exploited, not giving people a chance to even really settle down. So yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. And then I think the general public needs to understand, because I notice, especially with some of our lower wage workers who do the jobs that people don't realize are essential, like the grocery stores and things like that, that when you are overworked, it takes a physical and emotional toll on you. And then when people have, mishaps in the store, like they may forget something, the customer will get so enraged. Now realize this person may have just worked 17 hours or 18 hours straight, have not had any rest, and went to a second job. When you look at that, it kind of makes you a little bit more understanding, or at least I hope it does, of what some of our most essential workers go through.
Exactly. And when we rise above that and place the blame on the systems that have created this type of oppression. It brings us back to the 40 seconds of what I was saying about this country needs a third Reconstruction, right?
Absolutely.
It is time for us to continue to mobilize and organize and name and claim our pain, right? And take and turn that pain and that tiredness to just climb another ledge on that mountain to fight together collectively across all lines of division to fight for the right to have clean a clean and decent environment, right, to live in. That means water, right? Air. So we have to fight for our own ecological and necessary health that we deserve as humans in this country.
So I noticed earlier you mentioned that Boston or Massachusetts had prided itself on having some of the cleanest water in the country, and they go through all of these protocol and standards to test it. Have you found that there's been elevated lead levels in communities across Massachusetts?
Yes, according to some of the articles, periodicals, I haven't read that many journals. And of course, we know it's there. It's in our fact sheet from the Center for Policy Studies that the Poor People's Campaign gives to every single state on empirical data that yes, in Massachusetts, there have been high levels of water contamination. Spigots in schools, the water fountains in the schools have been turned off. You know, Massachusetts is so insidious. They like to hide, you know, and when I say they, it's the systems, the institution, the government entities love to just gloss over and make everything sound like it's so happy and nice, but there's such a darkness and corrupt mentality that keeps you know, us almost in this lull, you know, where you want to say, are you all woke? Do you want to wake up? You see what they're doing? And it's been like this since slavery, right? Since the people arrived on Massachusetts Bay Colony. And the fight of abolition within this state of Massachusetts. So it's like we're tucked away in the little corner of the Northeast map. And like, we don't want to be, you know, ruffle any feathers, but we know inside of this state that y'all are dirty. Y'all are not, you're not treating the people right at all.
It's ironic that you phrased it that way because I was speaking to a member of our coalition and he brought that same point up that it's not the actual people that work at the water department, it's the water department as a system. That's the issue. It's the city as a system. It's our government officials as a system that are the problem. You know, the people, the low men on the totem pole, so to speak, are just doing the job that they're told to do. But it's coming down, it's a trickle down effect of corruption from the higher ups that are in control that dictate what people beneath them that has a lower position do. You know, so the man that comes out and shuts your water off, it's not him you attack for shutting your water off. You go to the system that made water rates unaffordable so that they give him a reason to have to come and turn your water off because he's just following what he's told to do. You go shut this address off. That's your job. It's not him deciding if you don't have access to clean water, you know? So I think that that's important to uplift that it's not just Mr. Brown came and turned your water off. It's the system as a whole that's created this devastation and these problems. Even when you look at the ecological devastation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I would totally agree with you that probably Mr. Brown has to feed his family and that the policies, right, from the higher up officials and the, you know, politicians are definitely holding back the integrity of people's lives being met with their own human infrastructure, definitely.
Yeah. So as coalitions from other areas, I know we're both part of the National Welfare Rights Union, but we're located here in Michigan. What can we do to show support for the work that's being done in Massachusetts?
Nicole, I think that you having this powerful platform, the People's Water Board Coalition, is definitely a place to start. We would definitely love to continue to build and advocate and voice and name and claim what is happening across the U.S. that begins with the contamination of water, unfair taxes around water, right? Paying taxes or paying the bills of water. I call it the people are taxing us. But I think, beginning here to talk about the interlocking injustices that goes along with not being able to pay a water bill or having even clean water is a good platform to begin with. And I think that's what you all can do to help us, is to, keep this platform open and invite guests, and join. We can join your ranks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a very good way to keep involved across different cities and different states, because I believe that's the only way that we are going to win, is we have to support each other and we have to get out of these silos and help each other. Because when you go, as you're showing with Massachusetts, I've talked to people in Baltimore, we all have the same issues. It's like same issue, different state.
That's it.
And it's across our nation. What is like the shut-off policy, or do you have a water shut-off policy in Massachusetts or in your neighborhood?
I can only shut off I've ever known is they threaten you if you don't pay a bill. It speaks to the language of war. It speaks to the language of dollars and cents.
Okay. I know here at one time in Detroit, rather than say that if you didn't pay your water bill, it will roll over onto your property taxes, and then they could foreclose on your home eventually. So is that policy in Massachusetts as well?
I'm pretty sure. I don't want to speak out of turn. I have not done that research, and I can't tell you that off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that they're using all of the same template to threaten people's homes and livelihoods around the lack of being able to provide a service, or give people, a grace period or extension when we are going through what we're going through, that we're not able to meet and satisfy those bills.
Yeah, and that's a prime example of what you were saying about how things interconnect, because if you look at water shutoffs and then housing foreclosures, school closings in the most vulnerable neighborhoods, it all leads to gentrification as well, because these are the same neighborhoods that once you foreclose these houses, people can move in and grab these houses up for a lower rate because it's foreclosed on, and then they gentrify that neighborhood slowly but surely. I've been seeing it in my neighborhood because I live in a neighborhood where it's like primarily low income, people of color, and Middle Eastern people. And now I'm seeing like them in the area talking about what they want to build. And you can kind of look at what new businesses they're trying to bring to your area, will let you know if it's being gentrified or not. And it's funny because even my children, my daughter is young, she recognizes, she said, when you see them bring a Starbucks to your neighborhood, it's getting ready to be gentrified. And, we saw that they were talking about bringing a Starbucks and a Chick-fil-A. So I'm like, oh, wow, we're really about to, get gentrified over here, and you start seeing the dynamic of the neighborhood changing.
Exactly. I live, Massachusetts is Massachusetts Bay Colony. So, that's what it was called back in the 1800s. So in Massachusetts, it's like surrounded by, by water. I live on the South Shore of Massachusetts, probably 40 miles inland from Boston proper. And I always say, well, the street I live off of, Quincy, right? is, I call it a toxic alley. Down the road is gas. I live like probably a block and a half from the main gas tanks. And across the bay from where I live, there's the big water supply, right? It's really bad. Sometimes I could smell gas.
Wow.
There's fracking done at this bridge called the 3A Bridge. This is a very old community, Braintree, Quincy. If you ever research it, it was a shipping community. You know, Massachusetts Bay is a port, right, where goods and services are always, you know, being transferred in and transferred out. And it was it's military, right, filled with military personnel.
Okay.
It's really bad. So militarism is a huge thing here. And they're sapping and draining us. We have Raytheon. We have companies that are, you know, part of the gun manufacturing company, yet and still we have prevalency of the proliferation of gun violence. Same thing like in other states, we're experiencing, you know, a lot of gun violence. Just all of the social traumas that are heightened right now in the climate that we're living in. And, you know, spiritually speaking, if I could put on my minister's hat, you know, water and breath, water and air, that's our life, right? We were born and birthed in the womb. So water is our blood, it's our lifeblood. And without,
we're born in water.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely such, you know, like our indigenous siblings know that water, air, you know, ecology and the air and water that we breathe is our life, right? And
I think that just is so important that we uplift indigenous communities, because there's so much that we can learn from them, because they know how to be in harmony with the environment and in harmony with the earth. And they understand that the earth and water is like a living being. It has a life to it. And that when you damage Mother Earth, you know, I always tell people this. I say, you know, 300 years from now, this earth is still going to be turning. I said, what the earth is going to end up doing is purging the issue, the problem off of the earth, and then healing herself. She knows how to do that. We are the ones that are preventing her from doing that, because we're utilizing her resources and abusing her resources. She's going to eventually purge people from this earth and then heal herself again and start a new environment and start a new life. And it's sad to think of it that way, but it's true, because she is a living, breathing being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you said she. Yeah, she is.
Oh, it's definitely I'm a firm believer in that she is a woman.
Me too. Me too.
And that's part of the only reason that we've been as kindly treated, considering what we do to the earth, as we have been, because I firmly believe it was a male, he would have got rid of us a long time ago. She's trying to work with us. She's trying to build with us and teach and educate us. Because of course I'm a feminist and I believe that women are the educators, definitely. We're the first educators. Yes. And so I think people need to really pay attention and realize that what's going on, and understand, like you said, tie in the fact that it's not the everyday Mr. Brown, Mr. Jones. It's the higher ups, it's the politicians, it's our government officials that are creating the issue, and we have to use our voting rights to change that as well.
For sure. Yes, that's the season we're in, right? We're gearing up. We're having something in Massachusetts in the Boston community in August called Roll to the Polls, where we're actually having a roller rink built and voter registration at the same time. We're going to.
That's a way to make it more engaging and fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be handing out water, right?
Yes,
That
definitely.
policy is
Always.
not going to stop us. When we will not be suppressed. We will vote and hand out water.
I think that is beautiful. I think that's a very, very poignant way. And the thing is that it's innovative too. That's what we have to use when we have to engage the community. We have to use innovative tactics to engage the community because there's already, everybody's going through stressful times now. We also have people that, and I found this especially with water, that are afraid to engage other people because they don't know who's going to report them and what it could lead to for their families. And I completely understand that. I understand that that's a reality for them. You know, we know that I've witnessed people who've had their children removed from their homes because they let someone know that they didn't have running water or they didn't have, you know, utilities.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. And I think that way, engaging people that way is not just making it innovative, but it's also give you an opportunity to engage them in a way where they can learn to build trust with advocacy community. Because we can't help people if we don't know what's going on.
You got it. You got it. And that's exactly why we're using that as a way to engage people with, you know, with like, you know, Nicole, on the ground, actual teaching. And we'll definitely, we're going to have one of our labor workers union folks is going to do a canvassing training so that on the ground, so that we can hand out our literature around, you know, taking action this midterm election and making sure that our marginalized, poor and dispossessed class in our communities vote. So.
That's so important. I think that that's just like one of the most important moves we can make. I mean, we can protest, we can fight, we can get in the streets, we can debate, we can hold forums, but if we don't use our voting power to change who's in office and who's in charge, then we will always have water issues. We will always have poverty issues because the people that are in power are not thinking about the people that are going through and dealing with these issues on a daily basis.
That's right. And at the same time, what's so difficult is we really don't have the trust. We don't have the trust of our vote.
No,
we just don't. However, we know that if we don't vote, then we're going to be in trouble. So it's almost like, damn if we do, damn if we don't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is vitally important. So I think that is a beautiful way to end the show. People, you heard it from Reverend Martin herself. We need to get out and utilize our voting rights. Everybody from 18 to 80, get out there, get to the polls. If you're not able to, fill out an absentee ballot, vote on issues that affect your environment, vote on issues around water, vote on issues around poverty, anything that affects your community, vote and vote I can't tell you how to vote, but vote the right way. I can tell you that. This is important and people need to realize that our lives, very lives are on the line. I just, that's all I can say. And I would like to just offer all praises and thanks to you for being on the show. You literally made the rest of my day. Just about to be here. I'm so happy to have you here as a guest.
Always happy to be with you.
Yes, and so with that, I just ask that if you want to get involved, please tune in for our next podcast, come in our webcast, share this video, comment. If you want further information, we will connect you to Ms. Martin. Anything we can do to get us together on a unified front and one accord and fight together against poverty issues, water issues, any issues that affect us in our community. We ask that you do it. And with that, I ask that you all love one another. It's very hot out there, people. Check on the elderly, check on your neighbor, make sure everyone stays hydrated, love each other, and remember, until next time, stay afloat. Thanks.